All right, guys, I am trying to figure out why my video quality is so terrible. So pardon me for that. I have no idea. Let's see here. So we have a lot of fun topics to get into tonight. Let me get myself situated here. I'm going to do a little teaser for Instagram. First of all, shout outs to the Lakers for that victory there. We're live on YouTube. All right. So here we go. Badly. All right. Please excuse my microphone. Actually, let me just move it up here. So I'm trying to have better sound and better audio from last time. We are starting in YouTube, and each Sunday I'll be going live at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 9 p.m. Central Time, 10 Eastern. Ooh, that's a lot to think about. Hey, sir, how are you? So join me on youtube.com and type in Chasing Yonci, the same name as my Instagram profile, and we can get started. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff today, specifically relating to relationships, talking about love, talking about men, and we're talking about, can you help who you are attracted to? So join us over here on YouTube, and I'm going to get started. All right, guys, I'll see you in a bit. All right, now that is out of the way, okay, there we go. Thank you guys so much for being patient. Like I said, let me know your city and state that you're watching from, and I can give you a shout out, and then we're going to get started right away. All right, so love can be so complicated. I actually got married fresh out of college, and so I didn't have a lot of dating experience. So all in all, I think I've had like 6 years of really having to navigate the dating world. And my goodness, it is not as black and white as one would think. A lot of people would say that, people need to be more vulnerable. If you're just more vulnerable, you're more honest, then you're going to have a better chance navigating the water. If you're closed off and you kind of learned from previous experiences, then people think that you're guarded and they say you don't want to let love in and that you're going to miss opportunities. So how do we navigate? How do we get, if you give it up too early, then people think that you're going to not give the person. It just could be difficult. It can be difficult trying to figure out how to deal with each person because each person is individual. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay, because I am testing out a new system tonight. I'm testing out my lapel mic, and I'm using my webcam instead of my camera on my laptop because it was giving me better quality video, but now it's looking a little bit yellow. So I don't know. We're going to try, but just let me know, guys, in the comments if you guys can hear okay. So I want to explore this. I've seen so many memes. And then last week, I actually saw an entire video of a comedian. His grandfather could kiss his mother goodbye and go to work. And she had no expectation of hearing from him throughout the entire day until he returned home from work. And he was contrasting that with today's day and age, where we have cell phones and we as women expect check-ins and little text messages and FaceTime calls and polls and things like that. With my group, I've asked men, how they feel about being on the phone. And most guys say they hate being on the phone. So I'm trying to understand what it is that men truly like about, and say, what is it that you enjoy? Because there are so many memes, so many videos, so many conversations that I've heard about guys saying, God, women just want to talk. Well, I wonder what else is there to do besides say, oh, he said it's a lot of buffering. It's such a bummer. It's telling me that my connection is unstable and please wait while they try to connect. And I really wonder if it has to do with the game, because literally as soon as the Lakers won, I heard fireworks outside. They were just going nuts. So I imagine everybody is on their computers and the internet is probably really taxed right now. So if it's really bad in the next couple of minutes, let me know. And I will probably have to just try to do this again at a later time, because I'm just choosing it's buffering. Comment and let me know, what do you appreciate about a woman? We all know that, there's the physical intimacy part that everybody likes. But besides that, what do you like specifically about a woman that you can't get from a guy? because a lot of guys give off the impression that outside of the bedroom, they would rather just hang out with their guys. They, like I said, there's so many jokes, so many memes, so many storylines and movies and sitcoms and things like that. I want to know. So that's the question for I want to hear you guys' thoughts on, and hopefully the comments don't take too long in coming through. But I want to know who believes that he said I would rather kick it with a woman than a dude. Okay, so tell me why. Tell me why you'd rather kick it with a woman. Give the specifics, like I said, besides sex. My second thing is, can you help who you are attracted to? A lot of people say, oh, this is wild. Even the comments are coming with the little circle of death. This internet is super slow. Can you control energy? You can't control who you attract. And somebody was giving the example of the way that you dress or the places that you go to. And to me, oh, well, thank you. Thank you, sir. To me, I would say those are actions. I wouldn't call that energy. So let's say, for example, if I did my live with negligee, I'm going to invite certain energy based on energy that's being given off. I would describe that as behaviors and certain choices that I make. So I really want to know, this internet is going to drive me nuts, you guys. I really want to know what you guys think as far as how much control a person has over the energy. I would say that you can't control who you attract, but you can control who you entertain. That's as far as I would go with that. But I'm open to hearing you guys' thoughts, and I want to see what you guys have to say about attraction. Let's see here. I want to talk about fighting fair. Sometimes is that communication was something that was very, very stressed in my household. We communicated, and in my biased opinion, we communicated extremely effectively. I might not have liked what was communicated, but I was always clear on the communication. There wasn't yelling. There wasn't profanity. There wasn't name calling. It was clear communication. And there might have been emotions because of what we were talking about, but we always had conversations that had a start, a middle, and there's no closure. And so I challenged my group members to say, is it toxic for somebody to shut down? Because I know not everybody grew up in a household like I did, and some people shut down. Some people can't. If you are a type of person like that, I have had times where I needed to cool off. It doesn't happen a lot, but there are times I feel that it's absolutely healthy if the partner says, you know what, I'm going to go outside, shoot a few hoops, and then come back in and let's finish this conversation. Because I think there are a lot of toxic people out there who won't ever address it, and that's just an excuse to get out of the conversation because it feels hot. I think other people freak out when there's a conversation, when there's tension, and they shut down as opposed to knowing how to work through it and focus. So I want to give you 5 tips on how to have a healthy conversation, even though it's an argument. Now, getting back to Just Humble Me, Clark says, women are more supportive, warm, and have better energy. It's more fun to entertain women. Oh, that's nice. Christy Lee says, I agree. Let me know what you agree with, because these comments are taking forever to come through. So by the time I get them, I'm way past what I've said. So just let me know. Just more receptive. Okay, interesting. He's saying that sheesh connection is horrible. It is for me too. I'm going to get through these next 2 points, and then I'm probably going to log off because it's driving me nuts seeing how slow the connection is. And let me actually see if I can adjust it here from the internet side. Yeah, it's on 5G. It's saying it's connected and it's good. All right, so here are my 5 tips for those of you who have managed to hang on. Thank you so much. I would say to focus on the solution, not the problem, because a lot of times arguments happen because people don't see eye to eye. If somebody says, I thought you said 2 o'clock, and the other person goes, I thought you said 3 o'clock. Well, you could sit there all day and debate why you thought they said 3 and why this person thought they said 2, but you're never going to get anywhere. You're just pointing the blame at each other. And you guys are both in each other's crossfire because you're pointing at each other. It's like this. But if you could come side by side and find a solution, focus on the solution. Okay, cool. We had a misunderstanding on the time. What do we want to do moving forward? Do we want to reschedule? Do we want to try to stick with that time? What do we want to do? If you focus on the solution, that's going to keep you guys moving forward. If you keep focusing on who messed up and what went wrong, you're not going to get anywhere. To me, the only reason why you should assess what went wrong is so that you can troubleshoot for the future to avoid that. So if every time you're talking, you realize, like, I'll give you a perfect example. I had a video chat set up with somebody who's overseas, somebody who's in England. And we had a set time that we wanted to talk. We had a conversation and we figured out what the time difference was. And so she set her schedule, I set mine. Well, it come to find out I was an hour late. Well, I could have been upset and been like, oh my God. But instead, I troubleshooted. I went back and I looked and I realized what happened and how I misunderstood the time difference. It's actually an 8-hour time difference and not a 7. And I figured out what it was is because I saw her message an hour later after I thought that she had sent it. And so I did my calculation wrong. The only reason to go back is so I could fix it in the future so that the next time we set up a time, I didn't get my math right. Okay, it's 8 hours and not 7. Nobody was to blame. It was an innocent mistake. But that's something that you could troubleshoot so it doesn't happen again. If we were to sat there and going back and forth like, well, you should have known this and you should have known that. And do you know that I wasted all my time trying to call you? You didn't answer, blah, blah, blah. It would have done nothing but tear our relationship apart. So I think it's so important to focus on the solution. Well, what can we do now that we realize we're at an impasse? Oh, good. He's saying it's better. That's good. That's good. The next thing that I can say is let each person feel heard. This is something I have to honestly admit that I struggle with sometimes. I have to bite my tongue. If I don't feel heard, it's like my head starts spinning around and my eyes pop out of my head. I want to feel heard. Whether my partner or the person I'm talking to thinks that my points are valid, I don't give a crap. I want to be heard. And at the end of the day, if I'm with a person in a romantic situation, or if I'm in a business relationship where we have an ongoing relationship, I need to feel like I'm being validated. Again, even if the person disagrees with me and doesn't think that my point is valid, I still want to be heard and I want to be given a chance to give my reasons why. The fastest way to make me shut down, lose my marbles, and never want to talk to a person again is to not let me get my thoughts out. We can have a chance to hash it out, but let me get it out, and I should be able to let you get it out. Sometimes it's important to literally put yourself in a position where you're taking turns. Okay, person one, you're going to go first. You're going to speak. And my only response is going to be, this is what I heard. Am I correct? And if they say, yes, you're correct, then it's my turn and I'm going to speak. And your only response is going to be, this is what I heard. Am I correct? And I say, yes, you're correct. Unless they didn't get it correctly. And then we're going to move forward. If the very first step is making sure that both of you are heard, then you can start to address the situation. In most arguments, one person is screaming their point and the other person is screaming their point back. And if they're patient, they might be mature enough to wait for the other person to stop talking, but they're not responding to what they're saying. They're just waiting for their opportunity to say what they want to say. This happens when the person doesn't feel heard. So if you guys can have an agreement with your partner to listen first, it's literally like having a debate. Like it seems super formal, but you have to be formal sometimes so that you don't lose control. Let that person go first, decide who's going first, and hear them out. And literally go back and say, this is what I heard. Ashley says, so true. Being heard and seen is everything. Just Humble Me Clark says, I've heard that often. I have often just waited for a person to finish talking so that I can talk. Great idea. Thank you. And a lot of times, here's the thing. Sometimes people are like, my ex-husband used to call it shiny thing. Oh, look at the shiny thing over there. Oh, look at the shiny thing. And just keep changing the subject. And that could be nerve-wracking when you feel like you're never getting anywhere. So it's really important before you guys get into a debate to have a conversation with your partner and say, hey, look, we need to make sure there's closure on each individual thing. One of the things I cannot handle is when I'm talking to a partner and I feel like I'm at the gopher game at the fair. You know, you bring up one topic and boop, something else pops up. And then you try to address that, boop, the next thing pops up. Go in a linear fashion. There are oftentimes layers to a situation. I remember one time there were like 3 different things that really pissed me off. And the third thing is the straw that broke the camel's back. My partner could not get past the third thing and was saying, your reaction is a 10. And this thing your reaction did not match the third thing. And I kept trying to convey, it wasn't this one thing. This thing in and of itself would never have put me at a 10. It was because this happened, this happened, this happened, and finally this happened. This is the point that I snapped. But if you don't hear me when I'm saying this, and then you don't hear me when I'm saying this, and you shoo me away when I say this, then when this happens, that is when the head starts to spin, the eyeballs start to pop out, and smoke is coming out of my ears. We have to listen to our partners. And we also, as the partner, have to be able to identify the things that are small, but that could build up and cause the trigger. A lot of times, side note, a lot of times people will think this isn't a big deal. I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill, so I'm not going to say anything. Well, you might consciously be thinking, I'm not going to say anything, but subconsciously, you are writing a tab. That pissed me off. That pissed me off. That pissed me off. And then one little thing happens and to me, it's better to diffuse the situation by even prefacing it by saying, you know what, this isn't a big deal, but you're getting to know me. I'm getting to know you. If it's a new relationship, this kind of rubbed me the wrong way. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably like a 2. But you know what? I've learned that I have to just let the steam out sometimes so that it doesn't build and build and build and pop at some point like an overfilled balloon. Let's see. Crystal says, I don't think people realize how important it is to hear what the other person is saying. We have to learn how to not talk over each other. And this is what I have to say. And I will get to your question, Just Humble Me Clark. Okay. So often I think that people don't have good listening skills. But even beyond the poor listening skills, I think sometimes people don't have their character all the way developed. And when they don't have their character all the way developed, they don't know how to have empathy and they don't know how to care about the person. An immature person looks at the situation and goes, oh my God, this is an argument. This is uncomfortable. I just want to shut it down however I can. And they might appease the person and say what they want to hear. They might shut down and not really say what they want to say because they just want the argument to end. A lot of people are uncomfortable with an argument or not being on the same page. I used to be like that. I had to learn that it's okay to disagree. As long as you're fighting fairly, it's okay to disagree. But I used to be very uncomfortable because of a lot of other things that I had to unpack subconsciously within me. Sorry, guys, I have to adjust this. This is driving me nuts. I had to learn how to be okay with disagreements. And I also had to acknowledge a lot of my abandonment issues, which I connected disagreeing with being thrown away. I had some things in my past where I was taught repeatedly that if you disagreed with this person, you will be thrown away. So there was that constant threat of abandonment that was always there. So I always was trying to appease the person in my past. Moving forward into other relationships, it is something that I have to navigate through, learning how to not always be scared of being thrown away when there is a disconnect. But I also recognize it in other people because I've been through that. I'm a lot better than I was. I'm not 100% there, but there are people that I recognize have that problem where anytime that there is negative feedback or there is a conversation, they shut down and it's overwhelming to them. That is not healthy. We have to learn to be able to communicate and understand that our partner is not going anywhere. And we can't have to work on not threatening our partner that we're going to go somewhere every time there's a disconnect. Let's see. So Just Humble Me says, how do you deal with women who continue to bring up the past? I would go out on a limb and say that the reason women probably bring up the past is because it keeps coming up for them. So let's just say, for example, there was something that triggered a woman, and so she brought it up. If that same behavior keeps happening over and over and over again, she's going to keep bringing it up. Most healthy, normal people don't just randomly wake up and pick a fight. Most normal, healthy people don't just go, oh, let's revisit something that happened 6 months ago. It's usually because something is happening that is triggering it. I'm trying to think of examples, but I don't ever want to put anybody on blast that I have dealt with. So I'm trying to think of generic examples to give. But let's just say somebody has a problem with cheating, right? They were caught cheating. I've had somebody tell me in my past, I don't want to be fighting ghosts. I don't want to be bringing up old stuff. Just get over it and move forward. However, there could be certain things that were triggers. I had somebody that was very sneaky. And this is why I know that I can't be with someone who cheats because it's never going to go away from me. But they would cheat. And so it made me hyper aware of their phone because that's how they did it. They would constantly go into the bathroom, obviously lock the door, but take their phone in there. They would constantly have their phone on silent. If they would get phone calls, they would go outside. So those types of behaviors to me would say you're being sneaky. That would trigger me and go, that's how it happened before. So it's not that I can't bring up the past. It's that the past keeps coming up and haunting me. So that's my answer to that. It is, making an assumption, but that's my opinion on usually why things happen. Most people, when they go through something stressful, the victim doesn't want to rehash it. They don't want to keep going through it. So they're just as haunted as the person who did it. And that's why it keeps coming up. So that's my thoughts on that. All right. So focus on the solution, talking about healthy fights. Number one, focus on the solution, not the problem. Number 2, make sure both partners feel heard. Number 3, taking turns listening and not just waiting to speak. Sometimes I think that it's important to like have a topic. So even after you've gotten that point where you have the first person share their thoughts and then the second person shares their thoughts, I think it's important, even if you have to go to the extreme of getting a notepad and a pen. I like to, before I'm having a conversation, especially if I'm really emotional, put my thoughts down, put my top points down so that I don't miss anything. Some of the reasons why I interrupt my partner is because I'm worried that I'm going to forget something or something that they say sparks something else. I am a huge fan of getting out a notepad and writing it down so that I can bite my tongue and focus on what they're saying instead of trying to remember my point. Okay, you know what? He brought this up, but I want to remember to hit this point 1, 2, and 3. Write it down. And tell your partner that like that might be weird to them and they might even think it's disrespectful, and let them know, look, I'm making a conscious effort to not interrupt. And some of the stuff is burning me up inside and I don't want to forget. So pardon me, but I'm going to take a note. You have to be careful not to be passive aggressive though by doing that and, acting like you're not listening by making these notes. Get their permission, say, hey, is it cool if I write something down? I don't want to forget. Like a debate. I like it though. Yeah, I really think that it's important to do that because money and poor communication are the two things that I think are the reasons for most relationships ending. The other thing that I already went over, but I want to talk a little bit in detail is what I heard you say was, okay, I am a huge fan of reality TV. I love it. I don't like the trash TV. People are fighting all the time and arguing. I actually like reality TV where you could see an arc of somebody's character and the relationship developing, because when you look at two people having a conversation, you have the actual scene that happens. Okay. So let's say a man and a woman get in a fight. And those of you who know reality TV or understand TV, they have what's called a confessional. It's where the individual people do their interviews and the producer is off camera and they ask questions. What's crazy is in the situation, the person hardly ever says exactly what they mean. They either water it down or are very passive aggressive, but they usually don't say exactly what they mean. Somehow when they are in their confessional and the producer says, why did you storm out? The person usually gets right to it. It's because I felt hurt. I thought that if we were really good friends, she would have called me instead of me reading it in the blog. That's her truth, right? But in the discussion, she just gets up and storms out and maybe, yells about something else. Unless you sit there and have a direct conversation, you're not really going to understand what that person's saying. And sometimes even in the heat of a conversation, you might misunderstand something. So it's important to say to your partner, okay, I hear you. And this is what I think you said. Because we all listen through filters. We have filters that come from our life experiences. And sometimes I might hear, I don't want to be with you anymore because I can't deal with you. And I might say to my partner, I hear you saying that you're shutting down, you don't want to deal with me. And then my partner can say, no, that's actually not what I meant. I'm just saying, I don't want to talk right now. Let's reconvene and talk in a few hours. It's really important that we can try to understand each other, which is why I think it's so crucial that when you're having a discussion like this that's heated, don't do it over text, because there's so much room for misunderstanding. Even how long it takes somebody to respond can be misinterpreted. And that person could be like going through the drive-through or getting another call. There's so many things that you can misinterpret. And a lot of times we misinterpret to the negative. Like we don't usually assume things to make the other person in a better light. We usually assume things negatively and, and in a way that makes our partner the enemy. So it's really important to have these conversations in person and to let the person know what you heard. That way they can either say, yes, we're on the same page, or no, you're off. Let me try it again. The last thing is, and actually I did touch upon this, the last thing is make sure that you have a time to reconvene if you are the type of person who shuts down. Let me explain what it feels like to a person who doesn't shut down. As I mentioned before, in my family, we had conversations. If there was a situation, my father would literally go to his study, get out this legal pad, take notes, get Bible scriptures, pray, and have a whole outline that he wanted to talk about. Then he would call the family to sit down in the dining room. We'd all sit around, hold hands, pray, have the conversation, then pray again and hug it out. It was so formal. So to me, I literally almost have a panic attack if we are in the heat of a misunderstanding and that person just wants to shut down. It is like cutting off my oxygen. I cannot explain it. Like just even thinking about it makes my heart palpitate. It says OD. That sounds OD. I don't know what OD is. So that's the structure that that is my history. I can't control the fact that that's the upbringing that I was in. That was the household that I was in. And so I have an expectation that when I have a partner communicating, they are going to be calm, they are going to talk it through, and we are going to come to a resolution, and we're going to hug it out, proverbially speaking, and then move forward. There was no going to bed angry. We settled everything. Oh, overdose. Got you. So it's difficult dealing with somebody who shuts down when they're upset. So for me, what I have found is the compromise between those two personality types and those two preferences are to have a set time when you're going to reconvene. So if that person is upset, pick a time and make sure it's not after bed. Like, deal with it. There's a verse that says, don't let the sun go down in your wrath. There's a reason for that. You should never let the night go by when you haven't resolved something with your partner, if it's somebody that you love. And so if you have to go run, if you have to go work out, if you have to go smoke, if you have to listen to music, whatever you have to do, let your partner know, you know what, I'm going to touch base with you at this time. And even if that time comes and you're still heated, you can say, you know what, babe, I need like half an hour more. Because what it does, what it triggers in the person who has a personality like me, is that things are left open. It's like turning on the water and just walking away. You just so badly want to turn it off. It's just like seeing the fridge open. You want to close the door for a person like me. And I do understand for the other person, it's like, it's too much. You can't handle it. You need a break. You need a timeout. You want to calm down. You don't want to say something that you would regret later. You feel like you can't get your thoughts together because you have too much adrenaline. So I get it. And to me, that's the compromise. Let that person cool down, but don't leave this person hanging. Hey, I can't talk now, but at this time we're going to reconvene. All right. So the last thing that I want to talk about is 5 traits that I feel are toxic in a partner. I think that a lot of things can be worked out with communication, but sometimes you could just be paired up with the toxic person and there's no amount of communicating that can help you. All right. So the number one thing that I think a toxic person does is they punish you when you do something that they don't like. So in a healthy situation, the person can say, you know what, babe, I didn't like that. And let's talk it through. And then hopefully down the road, behavior changes. A toxic person withholds something that you like. They're going to withhold sex if that's what you like. They're going to withhold affection if that's what you like. They're going to withhold their company and their time if that's what you like. They're going to withhold their conversation if that's what you like. They are going to punish you. They're going to have an attitude. They are going to do things that they normally wouldn't do. They're going to do something with their actions to punish you. Nobody should be manipulated into getting on the same page with your partner. It should be a willful thing that you've chosen to do. You know what? I heard the words coming out of my partner's mouth. I understand that my actions hurt them in this way, and therefore I'm going to change my behavior so that I don't hurt them in the future. That is a conscious decision that a person willingly makes. Having somebody go, you know what, I better give in to my wife because she's going to withhold sex from me. That is toxic AF. He says, oh, I'm toxic. It's super toxic. And I know that both women and men are guilty, but women are super guilty. The man can say, what's wrong, babe? Nothing. And then have an attitude. It's not fair to the other person. As somebody who has experienced that, it is the most exacerbating thing. Or somebody, let's say you have plans with somebody, and the minute you have any kind of an altercation, any kind of an agreement, suddenly they don't want to hang out anymore. Suddenly they don't want to do what they wanted to do anymore. That is super, super toxic, and it makes your partner walk on eggshells because you know there are always going to be ramifications for what's being done. I'm not talking about a major situation like there was infidelity and the person needs time to process, or there was a physical assault and I'm like, oh, just hook up with that person, have sex like nothing happens. I'm not talking about something huge. I'm talking about something that just annoyed you, got on your nerves, and dealt with it. Rude Boy says, but shouldn't there be ramifications? No, I don't think there should be behavioral ramifications. I think your words should be enough. And to me, if your words aren't enough, then that person is a toxic person to be with. Now, that's my personal opinion. We can debate that. But to me, if I have to punish an adult, that's not a person that I want to be with. I don't want to have to start avoiding your calls and texting you dry texts and playing games and not hanging out with you and distancing myself from you so that you get the point. I want to be able to say, babe, when you did that, it hurt me. Babe, when you neglect me and you just spend time with your boys, I want my words to be enough. And that's why I stressed so much. I don't even know what I said that you talking about a bar, but thank you. I want to be with a person who cares enough about my heart and cares enough about my emotions that listens to me, which is why I said it's so important to listen to your partner. Because if you just keep talking at them and telling them, wow, that's what you're saying, but this is what I'm saying, that person doesn't feel heard. And eventually they shut down and become passive aggressive. So the reason, if you really think about it, rude boy, if you really think about when you, punish your partner, it's probably because you felt like your words weren't enough. I guarantee you tried the very first technique of using your words. You only tend to escalate the situation when you don't feel heard or you don't see the results of what you're saying. If I'm telling you that every time you turn the light on, it hurts my eyes, and you keep turning the light on, that tells me you don't care. So yes, eventually I'm going to get up and go in the other room because every time you keep turning the light on, it hurts my eyes. Eventually, if you keep doing things that I keep saying are a problem for me, I'm going to leave, because who wants to be with a partner that doesn't listen to your words? The second thing, a person who makes excuses and not changes. That is such a problem for me. I feel like a lot of people will say the right things. A lot of these smooth talkers, they'll say the right thing. Oh, okay, baby. Oh, I'm so sorry, love. You did tell me that every time I turn the light on, it hurts your eyes. I am so sorry, babe. I'm so sorry. You know what? Can I rub your feet? And then the next day, turns the light on. Babe, I told you that when you turn the light on, it hurts my eyes. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, baby. You can only have so many sorries till you get to the point that actions speak louder than words. If you have a partner who is so consumed with themselves that they can't empathize with you enough to remember the things you have pointed out to them, that's a problem. To me, that is a sign of a toxic person. I know for me, when I was younger and immature in my 20s, I was so me focused. It didn't mean that I didn't love that person. I just was so immature and so me focused that I could not see outside of Yonci. Everything was in my perspective. Everything was how it related to me. I couldn't put myself outside of my own shoes and see what it was like for the other person. So it made me come across as a very self-serving person. It made me seem very inconsiderate when you knew me on an intimate level, if I was really comfortable with you. And it took me growing and having an attitude of, I want to be the type of person that I want to be around. A person who's young and childish acts childlike. A 2-year-old doesn't care about screaming in the middle of somebody's meeting because they don't care about the meeting. They don't have the consciousness to go, is my screaming going to affect this meeting? Is my parent unable to conduct business because of my screaming? No, they don't care. All they care about is the fact that they're hungry, tired, wet, bored, whatever, and they just want attention. They want their situation resolved. That's what immature partners are like. They're so into themselves that they don't see the effects of their behavior on somebody else. So even if you tell them something, they're not going to make a change until it really sinks in. My God, my partner just gets to sleep about 2 hours before I come home. So every time I come home, if I turn the light on, I'm waking them up. And while I get to sleep in the morning, my partner has to get up, and now they're not getting full sleep. You know what? I love my partner so much that I'm going to remember, and I'm going to use a flashlight when I come in the room so that I can go into the bathroom and not turn the bright light on and wake them up. That takes a partner who actually cares about their partner and their significant other. It's so important to look at the character. When your partner tells you something, do they listen and do they adhere to it and not just give you lip service? Kia says, same here. It's one thing to make a mistake, but it's another thing to test my patience. Rude Boy says, you in my 20s sounds like my ex. And we live and we learn and hopefully we grow. My God. Number 3, and the 5 toxic traits in a partner to be on the lookout for, they blame you for getting upset. Oh my God, I just got triggered right now. You ever had that person, and this happens a lot to women, they're told, oh, you're too sensitive. Oh, you're being too dramatic. Oh my God, you're too fragile. Oh my God, I was just joking. Why do you take everything so personal? You complain too much. Most people don't just randomly complain. Most people don't randomly bring up an issue unless there's an issue. Yes, Kia, gaslighting. Thank you. That is the word, gaslighting. That drives me up the wall. Just Humble Me says, in my marriage, I said sorry so much. That's what I became. Oh, can you help someone speed up that growth? Sorry, I don't want to mess up your flow. No, don't worry about it. I'll come back to that question. So, gaslighting, I don't think is something that you can help. I honestly think that that is something that people can possibly develop, come out of over time. But in my experience, I don't have the bandwidth to help you. I don't. I really pride myself on being an amazing communicator. There aren't a lot of things that I will brag about, but communication, I am A1. If anything, I'm at fault for over communicating. I can precisely communicate to you and effectively let you know what is going on. I don't have a loss for words. I love to talk. Communication is one of my strong suits. Like I said, to a fault. So when somebody gaslights me, I can sense it immediately. A gaslighter is a person who will not deal with the issue at hand, but they will only focus on your response. They will only focus on how you react to what's happening. That is like somebody taking a cup of water, splashing it in your face, and then telling you that you're a whiny asshole because you're complaining about your hair being wet. They tell you that you're overly dramatic about your makeup. Why are you so worried about your makeup? If you weren't so focused on your makeup, you wouldn't care that it got washed off. No, loser. It's the fact that you threw water on me. That is a gaslighter. They only want to focus on your reaction to the problem, and it's not. And if you're around that person for a long time, you will literally start to think you're crazy. I talked about this in one of my previous videos. I actually found out that the term came from a movie where a husband was making the wife think she was crazy because he kept making up stuff about these gaslights that were near their house. You will literally feel like you're going crazy. When you start to question your sanity, you probably are with a toxic person. Okay, so get to your question. Can you help someone speed up that growth? Now, this is huge for me, okay? I was a lost soul. I was a lost soul with my with one of my previous relationships, and I learned a lot from that relationship, but it was a mixed situation. I grated on that person's nerves so much that they got what they considered to be out of their character. They could not handle my immaturity in certain ways and my inability to see things, and they would say, Yonci, I can tell you are not doing this maliciously. I can tell you don't have a mean bone in your body. You literally are just like underdeveloped in this area. But it pushed him to the breaking point to where he began to be toxic towards me. He began to do things that tore me down and broke me down and made me feel like I was less than a person. It was to the point where I was suicidal. Not suicidal, I was hopeless. I think there's a huge difference and there's a misconception about suicidal, which this is a side note, but I want to unpack this. When a person is hopeless, they imagine what life would be like if they didn't have to live. They wish that they didn't have to wake up each morning because they feel utterly hopeless. It's the feeling that I would describe was like being nailed into a coffin and buried 10 feet underground and having cement being poured over the top of you. You feel like there is no way out. There's no doors, there's no windows. It's just darkness and everything seems hopeless in the future. That is how I felt. I didn't want to end my life. I just didn't want to continue going the way I was because there was no joy in the idea of tomorrow. And that was because we kept staying together and he was so frustrated. And then I was frustrated because I wanted so badly to be the person that he wanted, but I just, because of my lack of experience, didn't know. So he punched into me. I don't mean literally. He pounded into me this knowledge, but it broke my spirit. So I left that relationship utterly broken, and it took years to build back my confidence. And I'm still not even the whole person that I was before. I have broken pieces that I've learned to live with. I do suffer from anxiety attacks. As a result of that, I have panic attacks for no reason. Like out of the blue, I'll just start having shortness of breath and heart palpitations and all this stuff as a result of how bad that relationship was. I say all that to say, if you are like him in that situation, I hate to tell somebody to leave, but I feel like if you don't see improvement for your sanity, you want to leave, because I feel like at that point, that's when you start to yell at the person. That's when you start to use profanity. That's when you start to do behavior to try to change that person. You try to manipulate them because you want to change that person and get them to see it. You start to do things that you wouldn't do just so that you can put them in the other person's shoes and go, see, that's what I'm talking about. It just is not a good situation. I really feel like people have to learn on their own. And as if you can, I would say if you can lovingly be patient with them, then try to give them feedback. But if they keep pushing back and they keep being defensive and they don't show you any change, I might say count your losses. Thank you, Rude Boy. The 6 foot beauty. Oh, hey, love. She says, yep, you have to go. The longer you stay, the more broken you become. I really do think so. And I think that the person who hasn't grown, sometimes, okay, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes I think that separating for a time period can actually be helpful, because if that person truly loves you, sometimes that is the push they need to try to do the work. For me, I tried so hard to figure out what it was for that person, how I could be a better person. I came to the realization that our situation was past repair, but I could still learn. And so I spent years self-evaluating. I, to this day, self-evaluate. Literally earlier today, I self-evaluate. I was actually so drained in self-evaluating that I didn't want to come and do this live today, but I really believe in sticking to my schedule and not being a person who doesn't keep their word. And I said that I would come on at 7, and so I am. But that's to say I'm still growing and trying to learn and develop. And I really try to be open to feedback. But I also try to keep a lookout for those toxic traits, because as somebody like me who's very open to feedback and very open to constructive criticism, I also can be vulnerable to an abuser, vulnerable to somebody toxic. So I have to make sure I can separate what are the signs of a toxic person and what's somebody just giving me constructive feedback. Rude Boy says, yeah, that was me 100%, but it's because I love them. I feel like if I could just change this one little thing, we'd be perfect. Yeah, it's tough. Kia says self-awareness can solve a lot of the issues that you're speaking on. Yes. And so Kia, in relationships, I always say this, relationships, if you take the root word, is relate. When you relate to someone else, that is how you grow. Asterisk, the exception is toxic people. So if you take toxic people out of the equation, when you are in relationships, whether it's your parent, your boss, your coworkers, your friends, your kids, relationships in relating to somebody else, that friction causes you to grow. If you are self-aware and your ego isn't out of control and you respect the people that are around you, you could take that information in and it can help you. I also watch reality shows because I like to see different personality types, and there are many different personality types. And I start to see those in the real world, because you see like that person who can't be told anything, they're hypersensitive, and they're usually the one that's like, I'm super confident. They overcompensate. I'm confident. Nothing bothers me. Da, 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 da. And they're the ones that are the most insecure and hurt, and they lash out in anger. You see different personality types when you watch people. And to me, it's just easy to watch people because I can watch the arc in one episode. But you start to see those things, and then it teaches you how to navigate in the real world. And I feel like we have to really work at being humble and putting our ego aside, because like I said, if we respect the person, we can take in their constructive criticism. And I always like to say, if you start seeing a pattern, your mom said it, your kids said it, your partner said it, your neighbor said it, your boss said it, your friends are saying it, you might want to take a look at that. If you have one random person saying it and you're checking for toxic traits, maybe you don't take it in. But I think at some point you have to want constructive feedback, because that's how you level up. That separates the people who have wisdom over years versus the people who just get older over the years. Rude Boy says, thank you so much. Thank you for this, Yonci. Didn't know this was a scheduled thing you do. I hope to catch the next one. Oh, that means a lot, you guys. And I'm such a sap. I really feel like everything that happens in your life is for a reason. And who knew years ago my brokenness and my torment would turn into something that I could do as a career. And for me, giving back on social media and sharing the things that I have learned, there is absolutely nothing more rewarding than to get a message from somebody that says, that was on time today. I needed to hear that. I was questioning my sanity, or I was considering checking out of this world. Things like that are so impactful. And over the last 6 years, I've had the pleasure of receiving feedback from people. And it means the world to me because I really believe in the scripture that says you are comforted in the way that you are to comfort. And I think that a lot of times when we go through something, it's so that our heart is put in a position that we can be there for somebody else. Somebody who went through physical abuse is going to be able to relate to somebody in the way that I couldn't. Somebody who went through emotional abuse like me can relate to somebody who went through emotional abuse. Somebody that went through manipulation can help someone who went through manipulation. When we have gone through certain things, you can have a different type of empathy for somebody else. Oh, I was reading your name as a statement and I was so confused, but that's your name. Feedback is polite. Yes, I agree. Kia says, I hope I'm saying your name right, Kia. I can relate on the reality shows. I watch them for the exact same reason. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so toxic trait number 4. So to recap for those who maybe are just joining in, toxic traits we talked about so far, they punish you when you do something they don't like instead of just using their words and giving you feedback. They make excuses and not changes. Number 3, they blame you for getting upset at their behavior and call you too sensitive, too dramatic, that you complain too much, whatever, instead of actually dealing with their behavior. And then number 4, which we're on right now, they don't focus on the solution, but they focus on blaming you. They want to focus the blame on you. So like I had mentioned before, nothing is more exasperating when there's a misunderstanding. That's the intersection. That's the cross in the road, the fork in the road. Nothing's worse than realizing, okay, we missed each other. You heard 2 o'clock. I heard 3. Okay, cool. At that point, move on. Find the solution. So what are we going to do? Now that we missed the time that we were supposed to meet, do we want to reschedule? Do we not want to do it at all? Like, let's move forward. Focus on the solution. A toxic person will just keep beating their point into the ground and make you feel bad. In my estimation, I look at my partner and say, look, this was a misunderstanding. If you think that I was malicious and you think that I intentionally did something to cause harm or cause this misunderstanding, you probably shouldn't be with me. Because why would you want to be with a person who you think intentionally did it? If you don't think I intentionally did it, then what are we doing here? Take my apology, understand that I said it was a misunderstanding, take my word for it, what it is. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. It was a misunderstanding, and then move forward. A toxic person will just beat you down, belittle you, bring up all these things from your past. And this is where it gets a little gray. You mentioned before, oh, good, Kia. You mentioned this before that, well, what about somebody who just keeps bringing up your past? That's if they see repeat behavior. So for me, I can't get mad if I'm doing the exact same thing and my partner keeps bringing it up. Of course, they're going to get frustrated. But if it's something brand new that we've never dealt with before, I mean, come on, give me a little bit of a pass. So number 4 is not focusing on solutions, but they focus on placing the blame. They're really big on like, who's to blame for this one? Whose fault was it? Number 5, and the last one, they shut down instead of communicating. And I kind of got into that earlier. If you do shut down because you're too frustrated, you don't want to say something that you regret, or you can't get your thoughts together. A lot of guys say they have a hard time getting their thoughts together right on the spot. They need to process. Set up a time to reconvene. And whatever you do, don't let the sun go down in your anger. So whatever you need to do, let the person know when you're going to come back and revisit that topic and actually revisit that topic. And then when you do the stuff we talked about earlier about fighting fair. Let each person take a turn stating their side, communicate that you understood what they said and say it back to them in your own words. But you have to have the desire to understand your partner and not have a desire to win the argument. If 2 people are coming in going, I love my partner and I want to understand why they're upset, you will win every single time. And you're going to find yourself fighting to love each other harder. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. You know what? Let me make it up to you. No, let me make it up to you. That is a loving and healthy relationship. And I think a lot of times, the 6-foot beauty says, "Gas, am I toxic? I fall back in a heartbeat, not necessarily to punish, but to avoid conflict." And I know you joined in recently, but I talked about that. It is toxic to avoid conflict because here's the thing. You think you're avoiding it, but subconsciously it's in your heart and it's stacking up on the ledger of your heart. It's an addition to that ledger. That was 3 cents there, and then it's going to be 6 cents later and 13 cents later. And eventually when you have $10, you snap, and you're going to snap over a 2-cent infraction. And the person's going to go, WTF, that was a 2-cent infraction. And you just flipped out like it was $10. Well, because you had $10 accrued. So you walked away, but that person on the other side is left like, what the heck? When things happen, there has to be resolution. And so many people try to avoid the conflict that anytime they start to sense that a conflict is occurring, they both start to do things to avoid the conflict. You have to get through, squash it, and let it go. It's like popping a pimple. You can't heal until you get rid of the debris that's in there. It just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. The problem is, the reason why you want to avoid conflict, which is what I talked about earlier, you want to avoid conflict because conflict to you is a bad thing. Let me know, actually. I want to hear from you first. Why do you want to avoid conflict? Like, spell it out. I want to hear you say why you want to avoid conflict. What does conflict mean to you? There's a reason why we try to avoid conflict. And like I said, I used to avoid it like the plague because of something that happened in my childhood. Conflict to me meant I was going to be punished. Okay. You see how this all psychologically ties together? Those of you who are saying, wait, what's the problem with having ramification? What did I say? For what's wrong with punishing somebody, you know, where you withhold sex, or you stop taking their calls, or you give dry little one-word answers, or, you know, you normally would sit all cuddled up on the couch, but you're sitting on the third pillow. You're the third cushion all the way at the end. Normally you'd be at home the whole day, but now you decide to go out shopping with your girls. Normally you would call and check in throughout the night, but this time you just gonna turn your phone off. The reason that you have fear of, there you go. I could probably trace it back to my childhood as well. I would strongly recommend that you look into fear of abandonment. This was something that blew my mind. To me, avoiding conflict was fear, rooted in fear of abandonment. If we have conflict, you might leave me. And conflict is uncomfortable when you have unhealthy fights, which is why you need to have the 5 things. Focus on a solution, not the problem. Make sure both partners feel heard. Take turns speaking and listening. Don't just wait to speak. Use a pad if you need to. You don't want to forget your thoughts. And regurgitate what you heard. This is what I heard in my own words. And then if you have to shut down, come back to reconvene. If you don't have healthy fights, of course conflict is going to be scary. I had a partner. I mean that too. The leaving me part. Yes. Yeah, that's. Oh, okay. I missed the thing. Rude Boy says, I never really thought about it, but I tend to avoid conflict because I think of the worst case scenario. Yes, that's it. That is the worst case scenario. And I did a video where I talked about, I think it was the 16 truths that I learned in life. And the biggest thing I learned is to trace all my decisions and look at the root of it. If I strip down my decision and it's based on fear, I run the other way. Unless it's a logical fear. Like if I decide to start running and it's because there is a mountain lion running towards me, that is a logical fear. But if the fear is ego related or like scarcity mindset related, I'm afraid he's going to leave. I'm afraid I'm not going to have enough. I run towards that thing. So let's say, for example, rooted in fear would be like, I want to start a YouTube channel, but I'm afraid that nobody will watch. That is rooted in fear, and that's an unhealthy fear. That is not a logical fear. Because one, what is the worst case scenario? If nobody watches, what? I'm not going to die. Nobody's going to kill me. I'm not going to lose my parental rights. I'm not going to get fired from my job. Like nothing bad is going to happen. What's going to happen? My ego is bruised. That's it. The root of most of our fears is ego-based. And if my fear is ego-based, run the other way. So if my fear about something is I'm afraid that someone is going to leave, that is not healthy. And if you have a partner that constantly threatens to leave, your partner is not healthy. When I joined the dating and relationship space, so thirsty from flapping my gums here. When I got into the relationship space, so I got married like the second I got my college degree. I have a joke where I say I got my BA and then I got my MRS right after that. But I was so traumatized. I'm getting my two thoughts confused. When I got out of my marriage, I was so excited to get into the dating world because I'd never dated. Like literally, like I married the first guy I was in a serious relationship with. So I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so amazing. I'm a great communicator. So as long as he's attracted to me, I'm attracted to him. We can communicate. There's nothing that we can't overcome. Whoa, was I wrong? I did not understand why people ghosted. I didn't understand why people lied. Like, I was so naive. When I started to unpack it and I started a group and I started talking to a couple thousand people as to why they do what they do, because strangers will tell you the truth faster than a person you know. So these strangers started telling me the truth. I was blown away. There are so many layers and different nuances and things like that that come to relationships, why people do what they do. And so that's what I want to use my channel for, is to really explain why people do what they do. A lot of it is psychological. I have so many thoughts. Woo! So many thoughts. I don't want to get all over the place, but I thought dating would be so straightforward. What was I talking about? Being afraid to leave. But you have to be careful of who you're with. And if that's a person that holds it over your head that they're going to leave, that's toxic. And at least give them the benefit of the doubt and address them. Say, I don't know if you realize this, but every time we have a fight, you threaten to go and it makes me want to shut down. Da, 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 da. You got to talk that through. But if you talk it through and it still goes over the head, you might need to leave. Let me get into some of these comments. Kia says, same here. I'm the 2-cent person that lets it build up to a 10. Oh my God. Yes. And this is the thing, you guys, I'm not trying to shame you, but you guys pat yourself in the back for it. Like, I've met so many people who pat themselves in the back. I'm not petty. And then they'll accuse people like me who do deal with the 2-cent thing. Like, are you serious? You really want to have a conversation about a 2-cent thing? And I'm like, yeah, buddy. Because I want my ledger on 0 at all times. Because if I have a 2-cent buildup and a 4-cent buildup and 15-cent buildup, eventually we get to $10 and you're going to see me snap. And then you're going to turn around like I started at the beginning and go, why the hell did you snap for that little 2-cent thing? My God, it's not 2 cents anymore. Kia says, we are all going to leave this live with some new revelations about ourselves. LOL. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Seriously, because I told you I did not want to come on here. So that just made my day. It's worth having to get up and do my hair and throw clothes on, because Lord knows I was sitting here listening to my playlist, like having a moment. Okay. Several men don't feel appreciated. Ooh, tell me what you mean about that, because I want to get into that. Okay, so yay. But that's a whole other conversation. Let's not start the men versus women tonight. Not tonight. She said, not tonight. Child, I don't know if you saw my last podcast episode with Doughboy and Try. They tried me on the New Normal, shameless plug. But the New Normal podcast on YouTube, that last 10 minutes, child, they tried it. They were pitting the sexes against each other. Leader of ADO's African Black Solution says, Kia, I can't be with a woman getting into chaos. She initiated and I have to help her get out of what she created. Sigh. Please tell us and be specific. Let's see. Yeah. So I just feel that, how do I say this? It's difficult for me sometimes because, and I'm going to sound like I'm tooting my own horn, because I'm so into the subconscious stuff and I'm so into the passiveness of people's conversations. I've been saving the episode for work on Tuesday. Oh, nice. Now I really don't watch it. Oh, and by the way, if you guys are not in the Patreon, we dropped the behind the scenes footage. This is a little known fact, but I was in Doughboy's music video, Fresh Ass Cookies, but it was a little bit more risque for my taste. And I have kids and my child would kill me if I didn't do anything in the video, but with innuendos and stuff in the video, like he would have killed me. So I dropped the behind the scenes footage in the Patreon group. So you guys can actually see that. You can see my parts that I asked them to cut out. I chickened out. I was like, but that's a side note for our garage gang. But anyway, I look at all the subtleties and what people are saying, and it frustrates me so badly when I'm talking to somebody and they say, for example, never mind. And I want so badly to be able to unpack it. And I know that they're dealing with their past traumas. They're used to certain situations and they shut down. And I have to be honest, I get so frustrated because I want everyone to be on my level when it comes to communication. And like I said, I know I sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but I like communication. And I feel like even if it's an argument, I'm always thinking that we're laying the foundation. So I don't get overwhelmed by the argument because I go, this is a necessary process. And if we deal with it, we never have to revisit it. But with other people, I understand that conversations that seem a little tricky can be frustrating and it makes them shut down. But I'm working on that. I'm working on trying to have patience. And Other people aren't as comfortable speaking their truth. And I have to be more gracious with people like that because I used to not be comfortable speaking my truth. I was always so worried about offending somebody, so worried about if I do this and that maybe that person's going to leave, I wouldn't speak my truth. So now when I see people struggling, they don't realize how obvious it is to me. They don't realize how obvious they are, but they will withhold certain things or sugarcoat things or go, oh, that's not a big deal. I'm literally seeing patterns. I'm like, yep, this is what's about to happen. I used to think my ex-husband was psychic. I literally was like, how did you know that? Because he would break something down to where I'm like, how did you know that was going to happen? Like a domino effect. But it's because he paid very close attention. And now I do it. So for me, I will see a pattern with my partner and go, this happened. He got pissed. Okay, he's about to do this. And boop, there we go. And I can see it. And so it's so frustrating because I want to just like take my eyes and give it to my partner and say, look, this is what's happening. This is a safe place. You can talk to me. Or the other thing that I get frustrated about is so many guys say, women, why can't you speak your mind? Why can't you say what you want? Why are you being passive aggressive? And then you have a person like me who knows exactly what they want. I could literally give you a printout, how to piss off Yonci in 3 steps, how to make Yonci happy in 4 steps, things to say if you want me to, XYZ, things to not do if you want me to, like I could spell it out. So when I've taken the time to spell out exactly what I need and the person goes past that and still does it, I cannot deal. So I have to work on my patience. And I truly did not know that there were levels to communication. I swear to God. And a couple of my friends that have pulled me aside and go, because they get all the tea on my dates and stuff. And they're like, Yonci, not everybody communicates on that level. You need to lower your expectation. But this is how it feels for a person who communicates. It's like somebody saying, I would like to order the Caesar salad. I don't want chicken. And please put the dressing on the side. Look how I communicated, right? You know exactly what I want. You know how I want it. Now imagine somebody says you can't use your words and you have to use charades. How long? That's cute if you're playing charades, but what if you went to a restaurant and you're trying to order and you literally had to be like, that's how frustrating it is with a person who can communicate with somebody who can't, because you're always having to try to do something that you feel is so simple that they're struggling with. And they're still like 2 words, sounds like, rhymes with, and you're going, just say you want a salad with the chicken on the side and the dressing on the side and you don't want chicken. Oh my God. Okay. Let's see. Whew. I got a little triggered right there. Okay. So let's see. Please tell us and be specific. Okay. So you're going to let us know. It says there is no verses, just expressing male in love struggles. 6 Foot Beauty says, when you ask some men what they need for appreciation, they can't tell you. That is so true. Oh, and that's another thing. I need to do my own thing and start making my notes because I'm all over the place. But I find that a lot of guys are not in touch with their feelings. They're literally not in touch with their feelings. And so we as women, we want you to articulate your feelings. But I learned that men literally are not in touch with their feelings, and a lot of them. And it's something that we as women were raised to be in touch with their feelings. How did you feel about that? How did that make you feel? I used to think guys were BSing me. I used to think that guys were just making excuses not to talk, until I realized men really have difficult time expressing how they feel. And enough guys have said to me, you know what, give me some time. I need to process. I'm like, process? The second it comes to my brain, it process. I'm ready to talk about it. So I think, yes, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. We are very different. And a lot of times guys don't know how to express what they need. Kia says, it got too real, Rude Boy. I could not believe what I was hearing. Rude Boy says, I'll check it out after this. Kia says, I don't think men appreciate when we do try to understand them. How can we understand you if being vulnerable for you is a struggle? Girl, you said a whole word. 6 Foot Beauty says the TNN episode was good. Thank you. I didn't like that they weren't listening to your perspective, though, in regard to submissiveness. Girl, I get triggered when I don't feel heard, especially if somebody counters my point with a point that I didn't make. Like, had you heard what I said, you wouldn't be countering that argument because I didn't even say that. Couple just needs to let whomever lead in the area that they're most knowledgeable. Oh, what's up, Kelly? Thank you for joining us. Shout out to Pretty Kelly. She has an amazing YouTube channel, and she actually was one of the people who inspired me to get over my freaking fear and just get on. So shout out to you. Her channel is Pretty Kelly. You can click on it. You can see her in the comments. Okay, so Kia says big facts. She's saying to 6 Foot Beauty. The King says, Pretty Kelly says, great point. What do you believe is the solution? And that is so terrible, Kelly. I don't know because I was talking so long. Which point were you referencing? King says, I want to record Yonci on a date. I need to see it. Honestly, you guys, like we talked about putting a show together, but the producer that I was dealing with ended up being like, but if anyone wants to shoot, if anybody knows a producer who wants to, a director and producer who wants to put a show, I have an entire show that I want to put together, and I think it would be amazing. It breaks down the anatomy of a date, and I think it would be freaking awesome. I want to do it so bad, and I know that it's out there. I'm putting it into the universe. I'm very patient as a man, he says. Let's see. I will invite you on live stream so nothing will get lost in translation. For us to communicate better with men. Oh. You know what? Honestly, I don't know, Kelly, and it makes me crazy because I feel like you're a very good communicator as well, because the conversations you and I have, you're able to voice what you're thinking. A lot of guys tell me, I've had so many guys tell me, be patient with me, be patient with me. But the thing is that when I work so hard to articulate myself, and let's say, for example, if I say, every time I go live, I really would like, well, because that's something I'm asking him to do. If I say, please don't move my water cup when I go live because I need my water. And each time he comes in and takes my water cup, it takes me outside of my character because I get frustrated because I'm going, I've already communicated with you. I've already said what I want. And so what happens is I lose my cool and I stop being the fun, sweet girlfriend. I start to go into mom mode. And I'm like, hey, this is what I want. This is what I need. This is what I've told you. And then I feel like the gaslighting comes in where the guy goes, God, you're in a mood, or why does it always have to be something? Or, it's not ever addressing the issue. So I don't know. I struggle. I struggle with giving guys patience. I tell people when they're dating me very specific things, and it's frustrating because a lot of times people will try to change me. And I believe that when you're dating somebody, you have to get to know them and do what they need. So I think it's a give and take. So I need to know the guy and understand what I can proactively do for him. And he should get to know me and know what he can proactively do for me. And like I say in my videos, oh, that is wild. Sorry, ignore me, you guys. What I say in my videos is, if you want to make a woman feel special, ask her out on a weekend date, and do it before Wednesday expires, because otherwise it makes her feel like a last minute option. So for example, I take the time to spell that out for a guy, and I give you the keys. Like I give you the what is it called? I give you the cheat sheet, and you still keep asking me out on Friday in the middle of the day for a Friday night date, or you hit me up Friday night for a Saturday date. After a while, it just makes a person want to shut down and be like, why am I going to give you the cheat code if you don't even follow it? I will say we don't express, we get interrupted several times. And that is true. A lot of women have a hard time, myself included, not jumping in, which is important to do the how to fight fair steps that I gave you guys. Time and baby steps. Okay, for many guys, when we are vulnerable, it gets weaponized against the man at a later date. Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that. So many men in my group have said that. So many guys. And I cannot stress this enough. And I'm going to get on the women. I'm going to get on the women because I almost never hear women say this. And so it makes me believe that it tends to be something that a woman does. Women. And I'm trying not to get emotional because this pisses me off to the bottom of my soul. Do not use a man's truth against him. Do not use his vulnerability against him, because in that moment you got the zinger. In that moment you won. In that moment you trumped him. In that moment you shamed him and you made him feel small. But guess what happens? You ruin him for all the other women he will encounter in the future. All the other women. And I pride myself on really having done a lot of work on myself. And I really pride myself on learning the toxic behaviors that make men shut down. I really pride myself on that. And it pisses me off when I have to deal with the shell of a man because the last women in his life have broken him to his core. A man should be able to be vulnerable and talk about his hurts, his fears, his dreams. And I try to go there with so many people and they're just not comfortable. They just don't. They don't have trust in women. And I hear that from men over and over and over again in the group. It has to stop. Just like a man should never put his hands on a woman should never emotionally pummel a man. That will tear him up. Life is hard for guys. They have to deal with so much BS. And I swear to you, if women had to be in men's shoes for like a week, they would sing a different tune, having to be turned down constantly, being the initiator, having to go on really crappy dates and know that not only did they waste their time, but they wasted their money if they're a traditional guy and they pay. We have to be easier on these guys. I genuinely did not realize, because the way the media portrays men as being so tough and, these tough cookies, I truly did not know that they have the exact same emotions that we do. They just express it differently. So if you understand that a man is just as sensitive, he's just not going to start crying in front of you. He's going to go outside and be pissed and punch something or play a sport or whatever, or maybe be driven to suicide. You have no idea how much you can break a man down. And then when he gets a good woman in his life, he can't even relate to her because he's a shattered shell of a fragment of what he used to be. Our words have the power of life and death in their tongue. I was with somebody who told me after the fact, I used to say whatever I could do to penetrate your soul, to crush you, because I wanted to get back at you. That stuff haunted me for years, the things that he said. And we gotta be better with our words. And I gotta get on the women for that more than the men. Okay, let's see. What did she say? He's saying applause to that theory for Kelly, but I think I missed what she said. I'm trying to see it. Thank you, love. She said you're number one HR expert. I'm trying to remember your first name because your screen name doesn't have it, but thank you, sis. Okay, or at least that's a lot of our fears. We don't know if it's justified or not. If you never say where your needs are, you can't expect a woman to meet your expectations. I don't understand guys saying that they want you to take their time, but also acknowledge that life is short. So why should we be reckless with something we have so little of? Woohoo! He will never speak again. Yes, it's so true. Time. She's saying time is really short. So you're saying give us time, but we don't have a lot of time. So let's say we stick around for 12 years and you never change. We just wasted 12 years. The time we have on this planet. So she answered that already. Have you ever dated a woman who didn't share her feelings? Interesting. She's asking, okay, as boys, they are told only women matter. Yes. A lot of men are told that their thoughts don't matter. And you hear the happy wife, happy life. You always see on the TV, the women kicking the man out and putting him on the couch. All this stuff that's happening. It's always favoring the woman. How did Kelly? Huh? I don't know what that means. Time for him is a buffer to deal with the decisions you want him to make. People act like our vulnerabilities aren't used against us when we open up. I've had it done to me. Why are we expected to move on in love like we've never been hurt, or else we're bitter? I would not say that it doesn't happen to women. I just don't hear a lot of women saying that they've had their past thrown in their face. I just haven't heard it. Angela, that's right. I was like, I know your head was like your name was in my head, but I couldn't think of it. You just click at and the two letters. Oh, that's what he's saying. I was so confused what they were talking about. Absolutely never should be done to a man, because when a man comes across a good woman that wants to be there, good, bad, and different, he doubts her intent. Yes. And this is funny you said that. So I've heard men say, like, my God, we like compliments too. We always gas up the woman. We want to hear it too. So when I'm with somebody, even if I'm getting to know them, I purposely go out of my way to find things that I like about them. And I use my words, use words of affirmation, because I love words of affirmation. So I will let them know, oh my God, I love how you did that. You're so handsome. Oh, you smell so good. Really meant a lot to me that you called me. You're this, that. I will give the feedback. Do you know that these guys are so traumatized that they literally will side-eye me? They're like, what do you want? Why are you saying that? Why are you gassing me up? You're just saying that. It's so sad that these men cannot just go, oh, this woman is appreciating me and she's giving me feedback. They are so traumatized by being verbally abused, apparently, or never getting any attention that way, that it's shocking to their system. It's crazy. Okay, let's see. Yes, several never share. They just share reality show stuff, not their issues and fear. I ain't got that kind of YouTube. He said they never want to be punished for a previous man's mistakes, so why should we? Let's see. I think you have to be on a PC. Oh, yeah, for sure. There's different options on a PC than on a cell phone. Yes, I love compliments, but I'll never tell my girl that. Aw. That is so true. It's annoying. My dad told me to compliment men. I try to notice if they have a haircut or tell them they smell good. Yeah, like who doesn't want to hear that? And I think that so often it's just like Yelp. More people, oh, he said men don't get it often. Got you. More people will give negative feedback than positive. So I think it was like people are 80% more likely to take the time to give a negative review than they are to go back for a positive review. And I do this thing with restaurants. If I really like the service, I'll ask for a manager with a really straight face. I'm like, can I speak to a manager? And the manager always comes over like, oh God. I'm like, you know what? This was important enough that I really need to get you involved. I need you to understand how amazing this server was. And they're always like, oh, and I said, because I believe that most people don't escalate it to a manager unless they're upset. So I want to escalate it to a manager, let them know, is there a comment card? What do I need to do to make sure that this person gets a benefit, receives accolades or whatever rewards for their great service? I think it's so important. We should feed into the other person and build them up. And that also helps that when you do have to give something negative, they're able to take it in stride and it doesn't seem like you're only attacking them. What was the last thing that I wanted to say? I was talking about giving men compliments, letting a man feel heard, letting them be vulnerable. I think that we have a lot of work to do. Sometimes I feel overwhelmed and I kind of wonder, like, what impact can I make? I feel like sometimes I'm shoveling sand at the beach. Like, can I really make a difference in our culture? And I feel that a lot of the things that go awry are based on fear. I think that a lot of people truly want love and are capable of giving love, but the minute they see something, it triggers them and they run. And then out of ego and pride, they don't get vulnerable and they don't say what they want. And there's so many missed signals. The guy likes her, she likes him back, but he's scared to know if she likes him back, but she doesn't want to look too eager, so she doesn't say anything. There's just so many signals. She's playing coy because she wants to play hard to get, because in the past, when she's opened up and said what she wants, the guy thinks she's too eager, and then he dismisses her because he thinks she's needy. There are just so many things out there to navigate in this world. It's exhausting. Just Humble Me says, thumbs up, good content. Thank you so much. So anyway, guys, I swear to you, every time I'm like, I'm just going to do a quick little 30-minute live. It's just going to be quick. And it never is. I cannot believe it's been an hour and 20 minutes. You guys are amazing. I will give about 30 seconds because there's a delay in the comments. But if you have any questions before I go, let me know. Each Sunday, I go live here on YouTube at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, which is 9 o'clock Central Time and 10 o'clock Eastern. If there's ever a change and we're going to veer off of it, like tonight, I went a little bit late because of the Laker game, I will do a post on Instagram. So check my Instagram. If you are not following me, I'm at Chasing Yonci. It's super simple. I will do a shameless plug for my 2 podcasts. I have 2 podcasts. One is called The New Normal Podcast, and you can find it here on YouTube. The first 10 episodes are going to be on Doughboy's channel. You guys might have seen Doughboy from Wildin' Out and a couple other things. We are temporarily couch surfing on his channel for the first 10 episodes, and then we're moving over to our TNN YouTube, The New Normal YouTube. Once we have enough followers, we're going to switch over there after 10 episodes. So follow that. That can be watched on YouTube. And then Ear Candy can be listened to on all platforms, same as the other podcasts. We're on Google, Spotify, Apple, every platform basically. And you can listen on our website, earcandytheshow.com. But the Ear Candy the Show, we get into love, dating, sex, and relationships. You can hear my thoughts on that with my partner. And then on the New Normal podcast with Doughboy and Try, we talk about pop culture topics and headlines. So that's always time-sensitive content. But yeah, she said search engine optimize your lives and schedule them, and you'll get way more views on your lives, mama. Girl, call me, because I'm lost. This girl is a whiz. We talked like, 2-3 years ago about me going live or not going live, having my channel, and you gave me so much information. I do need to brush up. So call me, girl. Call me, text me. Because I don't know how to do that. Compliments, yes. This is how we career guys fall for non-black. They flood us with compliments. Sticky, sticky, sticky. There's a lot to unpack there. But I think there is some truth to the, thank you, love. I think there is some truth to what a lot of black guys perceive non-black women are willing to give. Now, do not kill me. I am like gingerly making this statement. There are a lot of non-black women who don't mind fawning. Oh, you're so strong. You're so handsome. You're so this, you're so that. And they love gassing their men up. That is the stereotype, which there might be some truth to it. There are a lot of times, because of past hurts, there can be some things that make a black woman on edge. And so I have heard that. That is all I'm going to say. I have heard that. So if we know that gassing up and complimenting and all that works, just try it. Try it. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to just gingerly set that there. I'm going to gingerly set that there, because guys love a soft woman. They love a submissive woman. They love a woman who is just plays in her feminine lane. Yes, daddy. Okay. Sometimes, guys want that. So, hey, I mean, do what you got to do, I guess. Let's see. She said, what am I missing? Yes, dating and getting to know someone in general is the ghetto. Okay, so I think we touched all of the bases. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this and interacting. It's amazing. Give me your feedback as always on even the videos that I do, because I want to spend time unpacking stuff that you guys find helpful, and the stuff you could really do without. I don't want to waste my time. So it takes a lot of time actually, filming and editing and posting my Tuesday, Thursday videos. So I drop videos Tuesdays and Thursdays. Anyway, so guys, that's everything. I adore you guys. And I set it up, but I haven't launched it yet. But I set up a Patreon account for any of you guys who would like to support me. I am doing this full time now. I quit my job in July so that I can really, really dive in and give this all I can give. I really think there's a lot of stuff that I can help people based on my past hurt and my pain and the things that I have learned along the way in my 40 years of life. So if you guys want to do that, I'm going to have it as low as $3 a month for those who just want to do a just cause, give me some love. And then I'm going to have different levels to the tiers so you can get what you want. The highest tier will be able to have one-on-ones with me and we can have conversations. People have hit me up asking me to do that. So I want to set that there for those who want. And then in between, we have some other stuff where we have group chats and exclusive content just for that. So I'm just getting all that stuff worked out so I can post it. She said, not Susie. But that's that. All right, guys, thank you so much. Please let your friends know about this video if you think they will like it, comment and share, and please subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you guys next Sunday live, and I'll drop my next video on Tuesday. Take care, guys. Good night.